Hi, my name is Susanna Zarajski, and I'm here to talk about endangered languages, languages that are dying languages, and what we can do to keep these languages alive. You might think, I don't care about endangered languages. I don't speak one, I don't know anyone who speaks one, why should I care? I speak a major world language like English, Spanish, Japanese. My language is not going to be gone. I'm here to explain to you why this is important. So currently in the world, we have about 6,000 languages. 6,000. In about 100 years, at the turn of the century, a little bit later, half of these languages are going to be gone. So if you think of the world here, representing the languages that we speak, instead of seeing the entire globe, you can only see half of the globe of languages. So you still might think, I don't care. I don't speak an endangered language. Why is this important? I'll explain to you. I was like most of you. I didn't care about endangered languages either, even though I speak many languages and I've even written a book about how to learn languages. I didn't think it was important until I started reading about it and I realized the impact that losing languages is going to have on our intellectual development and our ability to innovate in the future. So in each language that I speak, I see the world in a different way. The way I form my sentences makes my brain think in a different way. As a matter of fact, if you speak more than one language, you are more likely to prevent the early onset of Alzheimer's. That means you might still get Alzheimer's, but it might come later. Why? Because your brain is so active thinking in different languages. If I see the world in a different way in each language that I speak, that means that I have more of a capacity to innovate. Where does innovation come from? Where do new technologies come from? The ability to think in a different way, the ability to create something new. If you stay in the old way of thinking, you don't create anything new, right? I live in Silicon Valley, where much of the innovation that has fueled the world economy has come from. Facebook is here, Google, Apple, Hewlett-Packard, IBM. Those companies did not work with just one computer language. They used different kinds of computer languages to create the technologies that we currently use. The innovations that are coming from Silicon Valley and other places of technological innovation in the world are not coming from one computer language. We have to use different languages, artificial languages, in order to create new products. So, if we take the world's languages from this capacity to this capacity, we are reducing our ability as a world to create anything that's new, because we are reducing our intellectual capacity. Also, we are losing the ability to understand documents, texts of 3,000 of the world's languages. The intellectual history of those languages, gone. Scientific experiments from those languages, gone. Religious thoughts about spirituality, gone. Recipes, gone. Sounds. Once we lose certain languages, we'll lose those sounds that existed in those languages. This is part of what has created who we are today. The languages that we speak are the foods that nurture our ability to communicate and to think. Once we lose that, we lose the nutrients in our brain. So I'm going to give you an example. Imagine that the world's languages are like this fruit basket. Like I said, the nutrients for the brain. But once we lose these languages, we lose these fruits. So let me give you an example. The banana, great, has a lot of potassium, but banana, you know what, you're getting old. Those of you who have high blood pressure, you might eat bananas to help regulate your blood pressure. Oh well, the banana's gone. Pomegranate, you're wonderful, you have all these antioxidants, you're fighting cancer, but you know what, pomegranate, you're a pain. They open you up, it takes me a long time to get the seeds out, clean you. I've made juice from pomegranates. It takes forever, but it tastes wonderful. Sorry, pomegranate, sayonara. Carrot, wonderful for people who have problems with their eyes. Vitamin A, beta carotene. You know what, carrot, adios. Mango, ooh, do I love my mangoes. But you know what, mangoes, you're kind of expensive, you're exotic, you're gonna go too. You know what we lose with our mangoes? We lose our vitamin A, our beta carotene, but also teenagers out there who have acne, mangoes are wonderful for unclogging pores, but too bad, mango's gone, you're stuck with your acne. Картошка, ну дорогая моя, ну не хочется с тобой прощаться, ну все, до свидания. We lose what the vitamins and minerals that go into our brain from languages, we lose them. We still have other fruits and vegetables, of course. We have our apples, we even have our plums. We know what plums do, and apples are very good also for diarrhea and constipation. We still are going to have things. But what's going to happen to us intellectually when we lose these languages? We become boring, kind of like this piece of white pita bread that has very little, if any, nutritional content at all. Do you innovate with a piece of pita bread? You don't. Why? Because it has very little in it. As we shrink the amount of languages that we communicate in, we shrink our ability to think. What are we going to innovate when we don't have much in our brains? So, maybe I've convinced you, endangered languages actually do matter. But you're going to tell me, I don't speak an endangered language, I don't know anyone who does, no one in my community knows what a dying language is, what can I do? If you go to endangeredlanguages.com, you can find a map of the world's endangered languages. You can find the ones that exist in your area. UNESCO also has a website with information about endangered languages. So does National Geographic. You can find people who speak these languages. Record them. Even if all you have is an iPod, a phone, an old recording device, a little digital recorder, it doesn't matter. Record people speaking in these languages. Record them singing. Record them telling nursery rhymes, stories from their childhood, jokes. Have conversations between people speaking. We need to record these languages in their living form, so we understand how people communicate in the language, how their mouth moves when they form different sounds. Because if we just read a textbook, we don't hear the sounds from the textbook. If these sounds don't currently exist in your language and you see them in a textbook, you're not going to be able to create them unless you hear them first. That's why we need to record living people who speak these languages. If you watch the movie The Linguists, wonderful documentary, it shows two linguists traveling the world trying to save languages. They're going into communities where very few people speak these languages. Some of them are even deaf, they can barely hear. They are recording them so we hear how these languages are spoken. Languages are alive, they're not just a book. Now you might wonder why I'm talking about music. So I read this book, Musicophilia by Dr. Oliver Sacks. He's a neurologist who's written the book Awakenings, which was made into a movie with Robert De Niro. He's also written a very famous book called The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. This neurologist explained that music activates more parts of our brain than language does. So if you hear a song in a foreign language, you're more likely to remember the lyrics of the song and later on sing it than if you just read it in a book. Now this is very true because I have given many workshops and I talk about how to learn languages through songs. Record people singing in these languages. Why? Because we'll be able to teach those songs to our future generations. And kids love singing. People love to sing. It's a natural part of who we are. Once people get into a language, get engaged into a language through its music, they're more likely to want to learn the language. And you can't just do it through textbooks. I love languages. I even have to revise my grammar sometimes and look in grammar books. You know what happens? I fall asleep. Language textbooks, just on their own, have the effect sometimes of a sleeping pill, like melatonin. We can't rely just on uploading grammar explanations of languages in order to keep these languages alive. You might think, oh, I have this grandmother, she lives somewhere in the mountains in the Himalayas or in Italy, and in her town people speak this language and only 50 people speak this language, but I can't go all the way to this place where my grandmother lives to record her. Call her, record her through Skype. You can do it, I mean, there are free resources on the internet to record. Ask her to tell you what she said and record it and translate it in a major world language like English, German, Spanish, so that other people can understand what people are saying. Our governments are not going to keep these 3,000 languages from extinction. It's up to us to keep these languages alive. Maybe you don't speak it, but the fact of many people working together to keep these languages alive is going to keep our consciousness from turning into some boring piece of white bread like this. It's not that hard. I'm working right now on learning Ladino, which is also called Judeo-Spanish. In the Bay Area in California where I live, where we have 6 million people, I've only found one person to talk to. One person in 6 million. It's not very easy. But I meet with this person. I talk to him on the phone. He helps me with the language. I'm also creating a movie called Saved by Language about a boy who in World War II saved his life by speaking an endangered language called Ladino, the same one, Judeo-Spanish. He saved himself from being killed in the Holocaust. We can all do something to keep these languages from perishing. It's on our hands. Remember, languages are the taste, the spice of our brains. Once we lose this, we become this. Thank you.